Good afternoon. My name is Tony Strickland. I'm a candidate for Congress in the 25th Congressional District. I've been active for a long time, walking precincts with a lot of you. And early on, when I first got active in politics, I learned the 5 W's of a winning campaign. And those 5 W's are: when women work, we win. And so I want to thank all of you for doing this event. What drives me, ever since I was a little kid, is my hero in life. I know a lot of you have heard about this story, so forgive me for those who have. But my hero in life is my dad, Sergeant First Class Donald Strickland. See, my dad served in Korea and he served in Vietnam, and after he got injured in Vietnam, he became a drill sergeant at Fort Ord Army Base, where I was born as a kid. You can imagine what it was like growing up as a kid, having a drill sergeant for a dad. Every minute I was late, I was granted a week. Never got time for good behavior. And my friends used to call my home Strickland. And none of my friends wanted to come over to the house. And my dad turns 80 years old this May, and he can still whip my butt. But what I learned from my dad is a lesson in life that says you have to fight for something greater than yourself. And that's the biggest lesson I learned from my father. And when I look at what's going on in this country, it's why I'm running for Congress. We're on the wrong path. Think about this in your mind. How many people believe that your parents left you in a better spot than they had growing up? Now, how many of you believe that your children, your grandchildren are going to be in a better position than you were? I believe that's the first time in American history where that question, it's in question, whether we're going to leave the next generation in a better spot. I have 2 beautiful children. My girl is Ruby Ruth, and my boy, Tiny Tony. They deserve to grow up in California I grew up in. They deserve to have the same opportunities that I had as a child. And it really matters who you send back to Washington, who you send to Sacramento, who you send here locally in your school board and your city council races. And so today, I don't think it's no longer good enough just to be a good vote. I think we need to send leaders at every level of government. And the best indication is what someone's going to do in the future is what they've done in the past. I'm very proud of my record in Sacramento. But one thing that crystallizes the leadership that you'll have me if I'm lucky enough to go back to Washington and represent you in Congress is to take you back to a different time in California history. Early on in the energy crisis, when we had rolling blackouts, Governor Gray Davis was very popular. In fact, he was already campaigning in New Hampshire, and he was running for president. People believe it or not, I mean, he won a gubernatorial race by 22 percentage points. It was the most prolific fundraiser in the Democratic Party. And at that time, he locked in these long-term energy contracts, these 15, 20-year energy deals. And I asked him to release those documents because it wasn't his money he was spending, it wasn't my money, it was the people's money. And people had a right to know how much money it was costing to keep the lights on in the state of California. He refused using executive privilege, so I thought I did the only thing I could do at the time. I took him to lawsuit, Strickland v. Davis. We filed a court case in San Diego. And I remember like it was yesterday, going into my Republican colleagues, my Republican caucus, saying, I'm suing the governor of California. Who's with me? To say I didn't get a warm response is an understatement. In fact, a lot of my Republican colleagues put their arm around me and they said, Tony, this is the governor of California. If you go forward in this bill, if you go forward on this lawsuit, you're going to be the worst office in the Capitol. He's going to veto every piece of legislation we have, and you're going to end your political career before it even gets started. That's a gut check time. But I remember my dad, and the reason why I ran for office in the first place was to do the right thing and make a difference. And I knew it was the right thing to do. We went forward on that court case, and we won that court case. The judge ordered Gray Davis to release those documents. And what we found out was he locked in 15, 20-year contracts at a higher price than the worst price during the spot market. Energy companies like Enron had bad PR. They went back to the negotiation table, and they renegotiated those contracts. We saved ratepayers billions of dollars, and that led to the recall of Governor Gray Davis. The reason why I share that story with you is because that's exactly the kind of leadership we need in Washington right now. We have a president right now who, by the way, taught constitutional law, forgot part of the Constitution in constitutional law. He forgot the part that we have 3 separate but equal branches of government. And he went back to the State of the Union address and pretty much said to everybody in the Congress, I'm just going to do this on my own. We need people who will fight because what's at stake is our future. You know, this is very simple. In terms of creating jobs, you know, the first thing I would do is we need to be energy independent here in the United States of America. Many of you are in the generation where John F. Kennedy challenged the country to send a man to the moon. I believe that's our challenge that we need to do in this generation, is be energy independent. Not only will that create much needed jobs that we need here in our country, but it will stop sending billions of dollars to foreign countries that don't like us, that fund terrorist networks. Exactly. On top of that, we need to control our debt. You and your family budget has to sit down every night to go and make ends meet and then make tough decisions. In a down economy, you might not go out to eat as much, you might not go to the movies as much, but you make those tough choices in your family budget. There's no reason why those in Washington don't have to do the same thing and balance our budget once and for all, lower our debt, and make sure we fight for a balanced budget amendment back in Washington. You know, I've been asked many times, you know, how did you become a conservative? And I just want to share one story with you. When I was a little kid in Simi Valley, we were trick-or-treating. I'm the youngest of 3 children, and my older brother is 4 years older than me. We went out trick-or-treating, and probably after about 45 minutes, an hour, my brother got lazy, got tired, said, I'm going to go home. And I said, well, I'm going to keep going out there, I'm going to keep trick-or-treating. And then I was probably spent another hour and a half, and I came back and I had a whole bunch of candy, which is great as a little kid. When I got home, my mom and dad looked at my candy, and they started sharing my candy with my brother. I said, hey, time out, what gives? I said, Mom, that's communism. That's how I became conservative. I can end with just one point. You know, my name might be on the ballot, but we're in this together. I can't do this alone, and I played team sports my entire life. You know, it might be my name, but it takes a team to get across the finish line. And one thing that you can never do enough as a candidate is thank people for their hard-earned dollars, for their labor, in helping you get across that finish line to make a difference. I'm here today to ask you to join my team, join my campaign. We have cards out front. We need your endorsement. If you're willing to man a phone bank, we need you to go man a phone bank. If you're willing to walk a precinct, we need you to walk a precinct. If you're able to make a small contribution, we would love to have your small contribution. If you're able to make a large contribution, we'd like that too. But whatever you can do to help this campaign, I promise you this, no one will fight harder to earn your trust that you have in me when I go back to Washington. And next year in January, when I get sworn in as the next congressman from the 25th District, I will tell you, I hope that you have the same feeling that I had working for a lot of candidates that we've all worked for in my past. There's some great people I had the opportunity to work for, and every time they were doing some great things, I got goosebumps. And I said, I have a little part to do with that person making that difference. And my hope is when I become a congressman, and after I fight for our community, that 5, 6 years from now, when I ask you to raise your hand, are our kids going to be in a better spot than where we are today? You're all going to raise your hand. Thank you so much.